How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on NQ. Got a quick win this morning. I had to be a little patient as some of the price action earlier in the morning was pretty choppy. We got a nice move down on NQ, caught a piece of it, made a little bit of a mistake. So I messed up, and I'll go over how I messed up. Still walked away with a pretty decent win today. Today's first day trading all three of my PAs together. So I just passed two evaluation accounts yesterday. That's this one and this one have been transformed into a PA. They've been activated or whatever. Um, and we hit a little win on them first day back. This was a PA that I've had for a while, just sitting, waiting for the other two to catch up. It was down like around $200, so today's win brought us back to above that starting price. So we're sitting pretty, and we're on our way. Let's get into the trade. Let's take a look. So I'm just gonna go over NQ because it's the one that I traded. ES was a little different, but I didn't take any trades there. So let's take a look at NQ. NQ, we have new all-time highs in the pre-market. And then right out the gate, we dropped, and then we just kind of chopped in this pre-market range, right? We had the previous day high right here, right in the middle of this pre-market range. So we were chopping around all three of these levels, and there was nothing really to trade. Now, what I was watching was if we could hold either previous day high and make a move back up to pre-market high, set new highs, or if we broke out of this range, either direction, to the upside or the downside, really is what I was watching. We were a little weaker on NQ than ES was. So ES was holding up a little bit better while NQ was already below previous day high and kind of testing that pre-market low. At 10, we had a news candle that spiked up and then closed weak, breaking that pre-market low. I waited because that was a pretty small break, and I wanted to see further confirmation. The next 5 minutes, we retested pre-market low and closed weak again. And then I was looking at this 2 minute where we closed underneath that pre-market low. Then we come up and we retest, getting pretty weak price action. You know, we broke that pre-market low with high volume, low volume retest, weak price action, rejecting off that EMA. The EMAs went from bundled, which is like kind of choppy, right, to a trending where we have that 13 EMA, 48 EMA, 200 EMA, and they're all in a bearish pattern, trending down. So everything's looking decent. We're breaking out of that range to the downside. We're retesting it. We're looking weak. We look at the 15 minute, and 15 minute we don't have a ton of support. Now we do have these wicks down in here, and then we have like maybe a level of support somewhere in here. So I did plan to take my first trim right at 230, which was a 20 point take profit on my first trade. So let me explain it for a second. So we're looking weak here, and I decided to enter. I entered right at pre-market low, which is 250. You see my entry here. Pretty much a absolutely perfect entry. My stop loss was at 260, so 10-point stop loss just above this wick, just above that EMA. And my first take profit was 230 for what was supposed to be 5 contracts. So I took 6 contracts per account. We have 3 accounts, so 6 contracts per account is 18 contracts total. That's why this account says 18. Shorted 6 contracts here. Was going to take 5 for profit at 230, a 20-point move, and then leave a runner. The reason why I picked 230, it's kind of right in this area where we have this support right in here. I figured if we broke, we could at least get that 20-point drop. But if we were to bounce somewhere in here, might make sense, right? So being a little conservative with that. What I did wrong though, and this is the part that I got wrong. So I went over my entry. I went over why. You know, we were breaking lower out of this range. We were relatively weak compared to ES. We had the price action confirming, the volume confirming, multiple time frames confirming, and we had the EMAs. So pretty much everything I'm looking for, and as well as like a little bear flag. So I mean, really, it was too nice. We had like this little flag in here setting up. I tried to draw a level and didn't do it. See, we had this little flag rejecting off that level. The EMA broke out of it. Very nice, like absolutely perfect setup. So what did I do wrong? So I meant to, since I sold 6 contracts here, I meant to buy 5 contracts here. But what I did is I sold another 5. So I added to my short position here. Luckily, I noticed immediately, and the reason I noticed immediately is when it hit that take profit, which wasn't really a take profit, it was like an add to position. I noticed that my entry price, it shows where you entered. My entry price shifted dramatically lower. And then I looked and it said that I had like 11 contracts instead of 6 or whatever. So my amount went up and my average entry price dropped significantly. And as soon as that happened, I realized I made a mistake and I just hit exit and market and clear. So as soon as I entered more, I just got out. So it kind of sucks because I just bit, contract fees and probably a little bit of like slippage. So I actually definitely lost money by doing that. The shitty thing was I meant to have runners and it moved well below where I took that first, I was going to try to take runners off around this 200 level, which would have slapped. But I just cleared my whole position right here because I realized I made a mistake. So yeah, instead of exiting my position, I added to my position. That was a mistake. But I realized it immediately and just got out and was still able to lock in a pretty good day. So would have been a little better had I not made that mistake. I would have taken some profit and then let runners run down to this level, which would have hit without hitting stop loss. My break even stop loss is up here. We never even got close. So overall, would have been a really, really nice trade. It's a decent trade, but I just that was a mistake that I made. So I need to be more cautious. And it's luckily I was able to determine that I made a mistake pretty much immediately and fix it. But the funny thing is we dropped pretty hard. So doubling my size right here, it actually would have caused me to have a massive win. But it wasn't part of the plan, so we didn't roll with that. We didn't risk it. Because we did bounce and I had double the amount of contracts and my average price was lower than it could have easily turned in from a win to a loss, and we don't want that. The whole thing I'm looking for is preservation. Not going on tilt. I can have a loss, but that's okay, but I'm not going to blow anything up. And as long as I don't blow anything up and I just consistently trade these setups and I'm patient, over time my account will grow. I've proven that to myself time and time again. I just need to be patient on these PAs. I've done it across however many evaluations. I've even done it on PAs. I've been $50 away from payout and blown an account. So, if I never went on tilt and I just had those first original accounts, with how many times I've ran an account up to $3,000, I would have had like 10 payouts by now. Yeah, we just got to keep it rolling, and this is how we do it. So, first day on the PAs, decent day. Could have been better. Like I said, I made a mistake. I set a sell order instead of a buy order, and that was my bad. Anything else I should go over? Not really. That was really it. It was really simple. And minimum drawdown, minimum risk, a little 2-to-1. Should have been more, but we'll take it. We'll take a nice little win on the first day. It builds that confidence, kind of breaks the ice a little bit when you start a fresh account. To see that balance go above the starting balance rather than below it. It's always nice to start from a abundance as opposed to a deficit, a surplus as opposed to a deficit, I should say. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do trade live Monday through Friday. It is Friday today, so we're gonna take a little break from the charts. That's nice. I get a little win heading into the weekend. Get to sit on these PAs for a weekend. Come back tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next week refreshed. We're juiced on that. Yeah, that's all I got. Appreciate you. If you'd be so kind, leave a little like, leave a little subscription for your buy it. All right, take it easy. Have a good day. Peace.